Welcome back to Bot Bros, the segment of the AI-driven marketer where we separate the help from the hype that is going on with AI all the time. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm joined by my brother, Travis Sanchez.
What's good?
And we're going to be diving into the news, a poll, and some viral posts to better uncover what's going on with AI for marketers. So let's dive into it. First off is ChatGPT had a few smaller upgrades. It's a lighter AI news week with that avalanche from the week before. This week we got some reprieve. There wasn't as much going on, but there's still news. There's news every week because everything's changing very quickly. And the first bit of news I have is from ChatGPT because they had a few small upgrades. Normally it would be big upgrades, but because there's been some really bigger ones lately, they're considered small. ChatGPT's new image generator is now in the API, which is very exciting because
can I be honest? Every time you say API, I go, I don't know what you're talking about.
Really? API?
I and then I look it up and then I'm like, I still don't understand. API,
Yeah.
it just, you know what, that acronym API, it really hasn't like planted itself in my soul to where you say it and I go, yeah, I know exactly what that. I'm like, what the heck? So if I think that, someone listening surely goes, what the heck is API?
API. Well, anytime you see the word integration, it's from between tech tools, it's through an API. It's a protocol for tools to be able to talk to each other. I actually don't even remember what the acronym stands for, but it's not even worth saying because if you looked it up, it would only confuse you more.
Which is what happens every time. It's happened 3 times now. And I'm telling you, it's not the American Petroleum Institute. That is not what we're talking about. that was the second. That's the second hit on Google.
Yeah.
Just keeping it real.
If you're new to API, the API is important because as you're looking at all these different tech tools that are now AI first or whatever, they're only really AI first because they're tapping into ChatGPT's API, as in they can hook up their tool to ChatGPT on the back end so that they can pull from either the text chat or their vision tool so they can send an image, have it analyzed by ChatGPT, put it back in their tool. Or now, and that's the news for this week, is that their image creating tool can now be available for other apps out there. But it's also helpful because you don't have to be a developer to use the API, but you do need to be a little bit more technical because you can Google ChatGPT API, set up an account, and they have a nice little user interface where you can grab the like a few lines of code and then hook it up to an automation tool like make.com so that when you set up a basic automation like, hey, user fills out a form, I send that user data to ChatGPT, get my response back as if you're using, the ChatGPT app. It gets collected in Make and then maybe sends an email with that back to you. But now it happens automatically and that's cool, right? You don't have to even log into it can happen while you're sleeping. It can happen 50 times. It can happen hundreds of times.
This is what Apple did.
Of automation.
This is what Apple did with their intelligence because it just wasn't intelligent. So they started using ChatGPT. When Siri couldn't figure out an answer, they would push it to chat.
Yeah. So Apple isn't just using the API. Apple has a special partnership with them to the point where they might actually be loading. It depends on how their partnership is set up. Like they might be going through the API. Chances are they worked out a really special deal. Okay. And they probably got hands-on to the model itself and loaded it onto their own servers.
Wow.
Who knows? That's what Microsoft does. Microsoft, because they own like almost half of OpenAI. Microsoft does. Did you not know this?
No.
Yeah.
How do they
Microsoft
own half?
Early on was like, we love what you're doing. We want you. OpenAI was like, well, you can't own us, but we need some money. So Microsoft's like, we'll buy as much as we can freaking get. And they offered them like $10 billion for half of their company, or almost half. I think it's like 49%. But they also, OpenAI had a weird legal model where it's like, it starts, and this is the big debate between them and Elon, because they raise money from Elon as a nonprofit first. But now, if you know OpenAI, they're very, very for profit. And that's been a huge controversy of like, wait, so you can fundraise as a nonprofit and then switch to a for profit? Why wouldn't every startup do that?
Wow.
Yeah. So Elon's throwing lawsuit
Because
after lawsuit
he
after
gave a
for
lot
that.
of money and didn't get a piece of the pie.
Yeah. He's like, well, I gave it to a research institute called OpenAI, which Elon actually named it OpenAI. He's the one who came up with the name because it was a nonprofit creating AI that was supposed to be open source, hence Open AI, as in the code was supposed to be available for everybody.
Yeah, because
Ended up
that's
being
Elon way.
closed, being one of the most closed of all time, and not nonprofit at all. So Elon's mad about that, and
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, that's the drama. There's tons of drama related to OpenAI and how it got started and them switching to a for-profit. They're still trying to deal with the legalities of having this weird for-profit, non-profit combo. But yeah, that's all backstory,
Wow.
origin
All right.
story
Good to know.
stuff. But Elon's also kind of a jerk, and they have all the email receipts from their conversations, and OpenAI has published a lot of them, showing like, nope, Elon, you're in the wrong. And they're not wrong. If you look at the conversations, you're like, okay, yeah, Elon can be a bit jerky, but that's Elon. So API, yes, Apple might be working through the API,
Right.
but they might also just have like literally like the code that
Okay,
powers
so
ChatGPT loaded up on their server.
right. That's
It
not a good
depends. I
that's
don't
not a
know,
good example. If they were
but
using
yes,
just API, you wouldn't know they have a partnership with ChatGPT. You would think it's their own system.
yeah, and they do have their own AI system called Apple Intelligence. It just sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And everybody who's at all the Apple fans who are in the AI space are like, man, I feel so depressed that Apple's so late to the game to where they're now predicting that it's going to be until like 2027 before they have something like workable. Yeah. So we'll see what they announce at the next June developer thing. Cause you and I watched the last one last June when they announced Apple Intelligence and they made
I
a big
know.
deal out of it.
This is
Freaking
how
end of April.
companies lose their number one most valuable seat, you know?
Their stock price is doing just fine because it's Apple and they still have massive hardware software moat. But this is going to be major. They're starting to put their best people on it, but it's been like chaos over there as far as all the news. They're very buttoned up.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah. You don't hear
everybody's
them
trying to
talking
figure out
about it.
what's going on over there. So you have to read between the lines all the time. But yeah, Apple's a hot mess, which is too bad because you and I are both Apple fans. And I just distrust Google. So I'm like, I don't want to move to Android. Don't make me move to Android, Apple. I will forever resent you if I have to move to Android. I'll move to some one-off dumb phone again.
Shout out to my friend who always was on the Google Pixel and just was bragging about how much better it was. Yeah, he's on the iPhone now.
Yeah.
Great. Well,
So API. It's a big deal because I think a lot of marketers would love to automate some of the image creation
yeah, of
stuff.
course.
I'm trying to think of like how to. The hardest thing for me still is coming up with the thumbnails for this very show. I still can't figure out a smooth way to do it quick and easily, especially since my audience on LinkedIn said like, yeah, stop using the TV head character. Like we want photos of you. I was like, okay. Problem is creating cool thumbnails with photos of you in it is just way harder. Unless you're doing the like cutouts of you pointing to the screen and
It's what they want, dude.
gosh.
Open mouth, hands to face. It's what they want, dude. They want expression.
I need to do a photo shoot again and just do the cutouts because that's easy enough, I guess. All right. So, but with the images and the API, you can now automate the image creation, which I think is going to be fun because now you can. Before, a lot of people have been automating social post creation, but now you can create the graphics that go with those social posts and maybe like automate a whole comic strip or automate a whole infographic thing. I'm like, these things are going to pop up and they're going to be cool. Another little side note about ChatGPT, Sam Altman just announced yesterday that ChatGPT 4.0 got another upgrade. They've upgraded it like so many times over the last year that it's like almost unrecognizable from the model we were using a year
Jeez.
ago when they first announced it.
Jeez.
And everyone's like, okay, so it's more intelligent. What does that mean? I don't know. I just know 4.0 is way better than it used to be. Have you noticed?
I mean, I think it's incredible, but that's only because you told me to upgrade its personality and behave in a certain way. So I'm just waiting for that personality to switch over to the voice mode. That's like, I'm
Oh
waiting for
yeah.
that upgrade to come. It probably will. I'm guessing in the next 3 months that the way that it writes, it will talk to me that way.
Yeah, Google has another big conference at the end of May, so I imagine we'll see some action there and see maybe voice mode because now everybody's starting to catch up to voice mode, or at least little experiment things like we have Sesame and something from Korea that just popped
Oh, really?
around like hyper intelligent voice. Yeah, and the Korea thing was like text to voice, where you could like type in a text and give it a script and it would act out the script in a really dramatic way.
Wow.
Like I forgot, like they had an example of someone yelling like there's a monster or a bear or something coming at them. They're like, "There's a bear! There's a bear!" And then some other voice was like, "Hold on!" Like I don't know what he said, but it was something. It was something like it was like almost comical. Like, "Well, hold on, I gotta finish my Doritos." Oh, well, did you save some for me? But there's a bear.
Oh, wow.
Something a voice mode would never be able to pick up on.
No, I
Like
haven't.
the comedic timing of like the reaction to it and the reading of it of the two different voice characters. I'm like, like that's pretty good.
Wow.
We don't have access to it to be able to play with it yet. Neither do we have Sesame, really, unless you're going through the demo they have.
5-minute demo.
So
15.
ChatGPT's is still the one everybody's using because it's actually like accessible. But I'm sure they'll roll out an update to stay competitive there. In other news, Grok voice just dropped with images now. So Grok, man, they keep like every week they're like, oh, now we've cloned this ChatGPT feature. Now we've cloned this ChatGPT feature.
Wow.
They're like quickly catching up with the whole ecosystem. Because they added personalization, they added voice now with video. That's a lot. Like adding video is no small deal. Like it's a
Right.
big jump to be able to add video for it to be able to understand what it's seeing. And they're just quietly being like, oh, here's another one. Oh, here's another one. Layup. They're making so much progress that you're like, man, where's Google? I know they're adding like lots of updates too, but I'm like, it seems like Grok is a lot smaller and that Google's massive and
Right.
also very focused on it, but yet they don't do as much with it. So
As I continue walking around my office and asking different people, hey, first of all, I say, are you using AI? And they always say, most of them say yes. If they're over the age of 50, it's like 50% yes or no. But even my creative director, I said, are you using AI? He goes, oh, yeah. I'm like, which one are you using? He goes, well, I won't touch ChatGPT. It's too woke. I'm like,
no,
okay.
it's not.
He's a Grok user. And I don't think he touched ChatGPT since it was, 3.0 was out.
It's funny, the political bias. They haven't actually tested it though.
I saw a test of political bias between Grok and ChatGPT, and they had a scale.
And Grok was more.
Grok, no, I think
No.
ChatGPT was more. It was more liberal.
Really?
Yeah, I mean
Because I've seen tests, at least
that was the
ChatGPT,
graph.
Grok doesn't even hold back because they don't even try to steer it. So, which is why everybody's using it to like make Elon look like a jerk. Like, who's the worst person in the world? Grok will be like Elon.
Oh my gosh.
You
Well,
know what
I
I'm
say
saying?
all that to say that, people aren't just using ChatGPT. There's a few out there that have said, "Oh, I just use Google,
Yeah.
Gemini, whatever." I just feel like Gemini is so unorganized from where their image generation is to where their
Yeah.
everything is with Grok, everything is in one place. With ChatGPT, everything's in one place. With Gemini, it's like it's kind of sprinkled out through their ecosystem,
And
which
not
is
in a good way.
confusing. No.
It's kind of the same thing with like Copilot, Microsoft's Copilot. They both have the same problem of just being not unified enough. And that's where ChatGPT is still
Right.
crushing it. And
Right.
now Grok is quickly catching up to the same
Yeah.
thing. But of course, they don't have as much to integrate on those two sides. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So Grok is still making gains, not enough to steal me away from
No.
ChatGPT, but I'm noticing. I'm like, yeah, by this rate, it might be the end of the year when I'm like, I don't want to move my whole ChatGPT account because I feel like it's finally getting to know me and it's got the personalization thing. I'm like, hopefully we can have integrations to move all that data over to Grok at some point, but we'll see. In other news, design tool that's finally gotten good to the point where I'm like, I'm probably going to start using this a lot is
Really?
Gamma.
Gamma.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Gamma.app, GAMMA.app it was kind of, I saw it as a presentation tool, though I'd seen people make landing pages with it. Cause like you can pick, like, do you want a presentation? Do you want a landing page? Or I think it gives you some other options. And you essentially load in, you can just use AI, like build it with AI. You're like, sure. And you give it, maybe you have ChatGPT come up with the pres deck outline, and then it will build the outline. And the cool thing about it is it's not building you images. It'll use AI images in it, but it'll actually write the script and actually build out the whole layout intelligently. Before, I would say it was rough, and it'd probably get you 50% of the way there, but you'd really have to go in. As a designer, I'm like, I'd rather just do this in Keynote by hand myself because I'm particular about the design. But for most people, it was nice because it would actually give you some more sophisticated layouts rather than like image bullet point. I'd use it in a pinch for like team stuff or like when I needed to create a Christmas slideshow, like a Christmas trivia slideshow game for like a team thing. Like I'd do it for stuff like that. But they just recently updated it and it's actually good now. Like, and it's a
Wow.
full on design tool. So if you want to edit it afterwards and change out the icons, you want to switch out the photos it did or move the layout around a little bit, the text, like it's a full design tool, like a pres deck would or for its landing page module. But it's actually picking better pictures. It's actually intelligently navigating the content in a lot better now, to the point where I'm saying it's probably getting like 75% of the way there. And I think the thing that's the most exciting for me is that you can now export social decks, because there wasn't a
Interesting.
good tool for create. There was AI carousels.com was okay for making like LinkedIn or Instagram carousels,
Okay. Yep.
But now Gamma does it and it's amazing. I'm like, dude, like I'm going to start doing this every single week for this very show, because I can give
Wow.
I can give ChatGPT the transcript to our stuff and be like, hey, turn this into a pres deck for a carousel for LinkedIn. And then it'll export that. I could post it now into Gamma and almost take exactly what Gamma gives me and just
Wow.
run that as a LinkedIn deck now, which
Wow.
is, I'm going to do it after the show. We'll see how it looks. If you want to find it, come connect with me on LinkedIn, link in the show notes, and then you can see the deck for yourself.
Man, user face is really good too.
Yeah. It's smooth. It always has had a good UI, but its outputs were like, that's still going to take a lot of work to make this look good. But now, if it's getting 75% of the way there, and I'd say the carousel I tested last week was like 90% of the way there. I was like, ooh, this is actually getting good. Remember just a few months ago, we were saying like AI can't do design. I'm like, I can now. It's
Yeah.
making really good decks. And, landing pages and decks are really hard to make, because you have to organize a lot of images, layouts, and text. It's a lot to think through.
Right.
I recently have had to come up with a few different landing pages, and they take a long time, like days worth of work to make one good landing page, because it's just a lot to think through with the creative, the text, the offer, the design, the code. It just so many elements to it that landing pages are kind of just really difficult, in my opinion. But now, like, marketers now have access to be able to make some pretty cool looking designs for things that are pretty common, whether it's a single one-off web page or a deck or social graphics that are carousels. These were considered things that marketers couldn't touch before, and now I'm like, now they can. I'm sure you're going to try it this week, because this is a useful tool for a lot of things, right?
Yeah. It was fast. I just like clicked through the prompts and said generate something for me, and it pushed it out quick.
Gives you some cool options. You're like, do you want it to be more concise in the middle, or do you want it to be very verbose and use lots of words?
Right.
You could give it like a one sentence prompt of like, make me a deck about selling Pokemon cards, and it'll make it for you. Or you can give it a full outline or a full transcript. Like, you
Right.
can plug in a lot of text and it'll navigate it. So it's a fun tool, and I'm really looking forward to using that one more. And I think
That's
that'll
cool.
just be more and more of a thing. Like, AI and design will start to become more integrated, which is why I think about like your designer or conversation from a week or two ago. And I'm like, yeah, designers really need to get on the ball with learning this stuff, because with it, they become powerhouses. But if they don't, then you're going to be in trouble. And I
Yeah.
continue to see posts of people saying like, it's just not as good. It's just not as good. I'm like, not yet. But like, if you don't start building the skills, you're going to be in trouble.
It's the romanticizers that are going to get really hurt when their pocketbook is crushed. But honestly, I've heard romanticizers early on who didn't even like the writing function. It just felt disingenuous to them, and now they're fully on board. So I think it just takes time.
It just takes time. I also think this is just an opportunity for not younger necessarily at all, but like people to like jump ahead of others. I did this in my career with digital marketing because all the marketing directors didn't want to touch digital. It was too complicated. And back in 2009, 2010, it was kind of complicated. Like if you were making an email, you still had to get to the HTML to make a good new email newsletter. Like you were coding it. Text SMS, early SMS marketing, freaking pain. Any website changes, pain. But I was the kid who learned how to do all of it. And then I jumped ahead of all those guys because that became marketing. Like when you think of marketing now, it's almost all digital.
Yeah.
Like when do you ever do anything like, oh, I made a brochure? Maybe. Maybe.
Right.
It's almost all that now. Maybe you do a mailer if you're a nonprofit and you're sending out mails.
Uh-huh.
But
Or
even then, it's
you go to
it's
trade
like
show.
90% digital, still only 10% traditional.
Right. Or you go to a trade show and you have a booth and a backdrop and what
Yeah.
yeah.
That same thing's going to happen. Like the old guard will get dethroned and a new guard will come in with the new
Yep.
skills.
Yep.
It happens every once in a while. So it's happening now, and it's just happening faster. Poll of the week. I asked people, what's stopping you from using AI more in your workflow? And I had the options of not enough time to learn, not sure which tools to trust, too many options, overwhelmed, and already using a ton of them. And it kind of shocked me a little bit how people
Overwhelmed.
voted.
People said overwhelmed.
That was the second highest.
I'm already using them.
I'm already using a ton of them, was 42%. Now, you have to remember, like, my LinkedIn audience is a lot of AI people, and a lot of people follow me because they're already interested in AI. Like, this is what I've become known for. So, like, I attract the people who are already using it and want to continue learning about it. So, there's that. I wish I could do a poll of like just normal marketers who are just like have a good representation, but then I'd have to be a polling company to go and find them and make sure I'm getting a good representation, but I
Right.
ain't doing that. So,
Right.
but in my LinkedIn audience, 42% are already using a ton of them. 26% say there's too many options and they're overwhelmed. 23% said just not enough time to learn. Something I do hear a lot when I actually talk to them. And then 8% said not sure which tools to trust. So it's not a trust issue. It's more of a too many options, not enough
Right.
time to go and
Right.
evaluate them all problem. But of course, there's always an aggressive group diving into many of them and experimenting aggressively.
100%.
Yeah, and this audience listening to it right now, you're probably in that 42%. Maybe you voted on this poll, which is good. It is overwhelming with the amount of tools that are out there. But I'd say like most tools aren't ready for the light of day. They're like previews more than they are tools, but they build a lot of hype around as if they're tools, but they're not. They're just not ready. Some tools are just kind of niche or one-off use cases, and I ignore those too because it's kind of like I don't really care.
That's the
They can do
majority.
the one thing.
That's the majority of niche.
The ones I care about the most are the updates of tools I'm already literally paying for, like ChatGPT. That's why, like, if ChatGPT even makes a small update, I'm including it because it's the most useful to me because I'm already using it. I'm already in that ecosystem. So when they add a new feature, I'm diving in to see if it's useful now. And then every once in a while, ChatGPT launches something too that's not useful. Operator. I mean, you got to have the pro subscription in order to access Operator. But right now, that's more of a preview tool than it is something useful. Deep research, amazingly useful. Which some news I probably should have included for the ChatGPT updates is they just upgraded two things. They gave you more uses for deep research. And now I think you have like 20. I should probably Google it. You have like way more. You used to have only had 10 deep research uses a month for ChatGPT, but now you have more. Have you used it yet?
Deep research?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I haven't used the new updated version though.
Yeah, they gave it a light version, or they upgraded it to make it easier to do. But how often do you use it?
Probably once a week.
Yeah, I'm using it probably once or twice a week. Oftentimes I find I'm using it like multiple times, or I'll use it in conjunction with a conversation I'm already having with ChatGPT. Like I'll have a conversation, be like, "Hey, help me do help me craft this deep research prompt. Here's what I'm going for. Ask me some questions," and then we'll set up the deep research prompt together. I'm finding it, and then after the deep research report, I continue the conversation, and then be like, "Okay, now based on this deep research report,
Wow.
help me set up this next thing." It's like a 1-2 punch with ChatGPT.
Wow.
I'm having a hard time finding how many they upgraded it to. 25. They've upgraded it to 25 uses a month, not just 10. And then pro users went from like 125 to 250. So
that's nice.
that is nice. The other thing they upgraded was the O3 reasoning model. You had a 25 a week limit for that. And I ran into it. So I'm like, okay, I'll just use O4 mini high until I get my uses back, because O3 is the better one. But now it's up to 50. I'm like, 50 a week. Yeah, I probably ain't going to run into that limit that often. As much as I use it, I'm not pushing 50 a week usually, because I still like using 4.0 quite often. So, but I'm starting to use O3 more and more, even though it doesn't feel like it knows me as much.
Right.
Its ability to reason through things is actually pretty remarkable. And it's less of a yes man, way more so.
That's good.
4.0 is 4.0 is so approving and affirming, like, oh, that's an amazing idea, so good. It's a little dramatic. You're like, it's not that good. Like, calm down.
The only wall I hit into is the image generation for ChatGPT. I hit that wall frequently.
Really? How many images you put now, bro?
Well, when I'm trying to just get an idea for a logo or something, and I just keep doing reiterative, like, I'm like, do it again, change this, change that, and it's like, I'll hit it quick.
Interesting. I don't even know what the image. I've never hit the limit for that because I don't use it. When I'm doing a lot of iterations of something, I'm generally just not using ChatGPT. I'm using Google's image effects still.
I made, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 8, 12, 18, 22.
Holy
yeah,
cow.
like 24. So I made about 24 images in probably 30 minutes.
You just open up multiple tabs?
No, I didn't do it all at the same time. This was like over the course of 30 minutes. I was, change this, adjust that. And then after 24 images, it was like, oh, you're going to have to wait 10 minutes before you get another one. I was like, okay.
Oh, that's not too bad. It's not like, hey, you hit your limit for the week. You're going to have to wait 7 days, or
yeah,
you hit your limit for the month.
It's like you only get a few every 10 minutes. I don't know. I was creating stuff for our Airbnb and I hit my limit.
There you go. It's just exciting to get more uses of it, because these are like the most helpful tools. Deep research is a totally underutilized tool. If you haven't started using this in ChatGPT yet, you need to start doing it. Or Grok or Google. They all have deep research now. And I feel like it's one of those things people just don't use nearly enough in order to power their conversations, their prompts, their research. There's just so much you could be doing with this as a marketer that it's pretty much become one of the normal things I'm using regularly now. Other news, viral post of the week comes from Alexandre Sanchez. Where are you from, Alexandre? He is from Berlin. But he put together a fantastic post, and it kind of starts off with automation, AI workflow, or AI agent. To always know which one to build, follow this framework. And he put together an awesome little framework. There's a little graphic at the bottom of his post. What I love about it is, like, there's going to be times in the future where you need just the normal automation. So don't even incorporate AI into it. There's going to be times where you want AI and automation, and there's just going to be times in the future where you want just an agent. And so he put together a fantastic little framework on how to evaluate the three and which ones you want. And we're gonna talk about it a little bit, because he kind of put like, do you want full decision making? Do you need decision making ability? How consistent do you need it to be? How reliable do you need it to be? Do you need to have data? How much data do you need it to have? And so he kind of uses these questions in order to navigate and explain and think through which one you need. And I think it's probably worth looking at, because as we're starting to prepare for agents, you're going to have to start thinking about which kind of like in your mind, like what's good for automation, what's good for automation with AI, what's good for agents. Now, this is getting like really technical. So when you look at this, how do you react to it?
I think it looks like a useful kind of diagram for people to. I was just reading through it. It's funny. I think his graphic was created by AI, which is fun, but maybe not. Let me zoom in here.
I don't think so.
No?
Uh,
It feels like it a little bit, but maybe it's so clean that you can't tell.
yeah. ChatGPT would have messed that up somewhere.
Yeah, you're right.
ChatGPT is the only
Too
one
many
that would have been
words,
able to do it.
too many boxes.
It's too consistent. ChatGPT will like leave a line off randomly of some place. Yeah, you're like, no, it'll screw up somewhere. It's too detailed.
My first impression is that, man, people are really intelligent. Like to break this down and actually create this graph for people to analyze what their next step is for trying to maximize what they're trying to accomplish. This is amazing.
The graph is a little overwhelming. It's probably too much information in it, in my opinion. But I do like the general organization of the three different frameworks. I've kind of put it into 5, thinking about the difference between automation and agent, because I think there's more steps in between them. But it is helpful to know. The funny thing about an agent, a lot of people will use agents in the future when just a normal automation would have been better, because sometimes you don't need AI to think like, oh, every time this lead comes in, I need it to update Slack with the fact that a new lead came in, and I need it to send me a notification email. I'm like, yeah, you don't need AI for that. That's just an automation. Like, it just pings it. Do you need AI to analyze it? Because then that's not an agent. That's just automation with AI analyzing the message and then putting that slightly customized brief in Slack. Like, these aren't hard things to do. These are things you could do already. So I always default to like, if automation can get it done, then let automation do it. Only use an agent when you actually are giving it something that actually has to navigate some fairly complex requirements in order to get it done every single time. Like, book a reservation at a hotel would be one of those, because there's so many different factors to consider. You can't automate that because there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And the agent might have access to your calendar and know, book it for my anniversary. You're like, okay, well, there's so many decisions to think through. It's like, I know they have a preference for this hotel because they have this membership loyalty. It looks like they have enough points for it. So he's probably going to want to use the points for this. Looks like the anniversary is coming up based on this calendar thing. So you can see it's like checking all the different things like an executive assistant would in order to actually book it and get it ready for you. And then think about all the other things that might need to move around because of it. Yeah. That's an agent.
Processing agents the way you were just describing, I can feel my brain trying to reorient and connect different neurons of like pathways. I'm like, what? Okay, how would that actually work? And that's such a new technology if it actually works that way, because surely that agent would have to circle back and go, hey, we got some decisions to make. Here's the price for a balcony room. Here's a price for a view room. Here's a price for I know you typically like this you've traveled here before, and like, when does it make the decision for you, and when does it have to get confirmation of your decision making? Or do you just tell it, hey, make the best decision that you possibly can based on what you know about me, the decisions I've made in the past, and just book it?
Well, that's the decision you get to make. I mean, like, here's a few different scenarios you can run into with agents. And let's just keep going with this like hotel booking thing. Maybe planning like a weekend vacation or something. You can say like, hey, go build a plan for me and I'll approve the whole plan. But don't ask me a good planner or executive assistant wouldn't go in and be like, hey, oh, well, where do you want to go? Okay. Okay, now I'm back. What kind of hotel do you like to stay at? Because that's currently how Operator works, and it's annoying as heck. What a good executive assistant would do, and what agents will be doing very soon, is they'll be like, okay, I did all the work for you, and I recommend doing this plan. It's going to be here, these dates, this much, doing this. I know you had a preference for this, so I'm planning on this. Do you approve the plan? And it'll just make a whole plan, and then you'll be like, yes, but change this one thing, and then it'll go off and execute it all. It's a lot of steps, but chances are we're going to be using agents like that a lot. And it'll be like, we're using a personal example, but we'll be doing this for work too. We'll be like, hey, like we need a campaign to go and reactivate that one segment of our list. Can you come up with some options for me? And it'll come back, build a plan, and you will tweak the plan, and then it will go and execute the plan. This is the future. But there will be times where you're like, hey, like I need to get away this weekend. It's Thursday night. I can leave after 3 p.m. tomorrow. Like, I don't want to think about anything. Surprise me.
Right.
And using your preferences, it will just go and book it all and then just come back to you and tell you what you need to know when you need to know it.
Which
And you
after
might
some
even be like, I
experience,
don't even want to know where I'm going. I just want to get in an Uber right here. And then I just want to be surprised about what
Right.
happens next.
Right.
Tell me what steps, where I need to go and where I need to be. I want to be surprised with the whole weekend. I don't know. Like, and it'll just do that. Like, think about what a human could do and it's just replicate that.
It'll be the best executive assistant because it'll have its memory. It'll know what you liked last time. It will remember feedback that you gave it on last plans. Because an executive assistant that's been with you for 2 years and you tell them to do that, they'll know exactly what to do.
Yep.
Except it won't cost, $68,000 a year.
I remember Ramit Sethi from I Will Teach You to Be Rich was talking about his thing because he's big into using his executive assistant. And every time he traveled, there was a certain way that he wanted to travel. Like he flew this type of airline, this type of seat, big into first class, staying at this kind of hotel, making sure there was always healthy food available in his room before he got there so that he was never tempted to like go off diet. But he said he's got the thing. He's got the set operating system for what it means for him to travel to another city. And his executive assistant was well trained on what that was. And he'd be like, hey, just run the plan. And so the executive assistant would pull up the standard operating procedure of what the plan was and just execute it like clockwork. And he didn't have to think about it. He'd just be like, execute the plan.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Wow.
exactly how we're going to be doing agents,
Wow.
or at least people who are smart.
Yes.
But like we'll be doing that within work. We'll be doing that within marketing. We'll be like, hey, execute this playbook, and it will go and execute that playbook. And sometimes, playbooks change over time, right? But a smart employee will be like, oh, we'll accommodate for it. Maybe update the playbook because the way you check into this hotel has changed or whatever. And you needed to update the playbook because the standard operating procedure is out of date. Something's changed and you need to update it. The agents will do that too.
Wow.
So that's why it's good to start thinking about what needs to be automated, what needs to be automation with AI, and what are things that it's just going to take a full agent to execute every time. And it's going to be a blend of all three of those things. But you don't want to use an agent when automation will do. Though we might having agents build automations. Right? There's still things that computers are really good at that AI is not good at. Which is why like more and more of the tools for math are just not, instead of AI trying to calculate it, what the AI agents are now doing, or what ChatGPT is now doing, is they're just using a calculator themselves. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but I've seen it. It goes into code and you could see it processing it with code, which essentially means it's using a calculator. AI is like, yeah, I ain't going to try to do that. Like, let me go to my calculator and process that number real quick.
That's funny.
It's a smart way to get around it because AI is good at some things, not good at other things, where a computer or code is actually really good at calculating math. So it just goes and uses the tools that it needs to now.
Wow.
So that is the future. And if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I don't know if I can navigate. If you haven't been heavy in automation already, I highly recommend going to the link in the show notes. Go look at his post, read it very thoroughly. The diagram's a little intimidating. Just read it and look at it very closely. Read it very slowly. and just become familiar with it. It's not like you're going to take a test on it, but you want to start familiarizing yourself with these. So take 5 minutes to read the post carefully, look at this graphic, because you're going to have to be able to start building systems in the future more than do the work of the campaigns. You're going to be an architect more than an operator in the future. The agents will be the operators. So if you want to stay competitive, you have to think systematically. And this is one of those pieces that I'm like, this is a good systems framework to analyze which one's which, or what to do what with what. And to wrap up this episode, one final piece of news is that I am doing a live masterclass on May 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. It is my session from Social Media Marketing World. And it was actually the top rated session, which I was blown away because like I don't spend a lot of time on stages. I spend more time in front of video, but I was nervous, so I rehearsed the heck out of it. It ended up being like the top rated session of Social Media Marketing World. The session's called 25 Tools and Workflows That Will Change How You Create Content Forever. And I had a blast doing it. A ton of people got a lot of value out of it. After I read all the feedback from it, people freaking loved this session. I was amazed. I would have never picked the title, but again, I inherited it from Matt Wolf. So that man knew exactly what to do in order to make a good session, because I went off of that title. But we're doing an encore. We're going to have it live for free. You can come and watch this session. I'm going to be doing it virtually just one time. So if you don't register for it, this is going to go away and it's not going to come back. But if you want to register for it, see it live next week on May 1st, go to Danchez.com/session. And it will take you to the page where you can register. It is a Social Media Examiner event. Looking forward to seeing a lot of people there.